Okay, so welcome to this bi-weekly meeting, and we don't have any agenda for today's meeting by now. But since Roland, you are on the meeting, do you have any updates regarding the disability focus group?
No, I have been out of the loop. I can't even remember what I committed to, but I see myself more as, hey, I'll try to keep abreast of what people are doing and provide some advice because I'm sort of maxed up to my limit, preparing for the Research Software Asia Australia conference and
Oh,
this
yes.
other conference as well. So
That's
I yeah, you go.
no, I mean that's totally understandable. And if you wish, you could elaborate more on the conference you mentioned.
Yeah, so I wanted to actually reach out. So the Research Software Asia Australia conference this will be its fourth year. Um, and it's really about raising awareness of research software and the people who work in research software or with research software or on research software. I'll drop in I'll put in the thing, the website. Where
Yeah.
did my thing go? So it's RSAA 25 Research Software Asia Australia. And we're looking around for the looking for partners at the moment. And we've got a prospectus. Um, although I don't think we've got a maybe I do have a so that's what I'm sort of focusing on at the moment. So and March was really, really busy. So I feel like I haven't turned up to one of these for a couple of weeks now, a couple of months now. So I have no idea. All I've seen is the hey, we were going to catch up for a podcast at some point and trying not to get in anyone's way. But I think
Yeah,
yeah.
I think we finally managed to I'm not sure if it is settled that is April 8th. We are going to record the podcast Asia.
Yeah, I think it was 9 a.m. GMT +1, which I think I said I could make.
Yeah, I can
So
manage that time too.
um, so we've got the one of the things we did this year that's a little bit different is we put in a prospectus and an accessible prospectus as well. Because we've got Hirsch and Sanchit who are working with us in the organizing committee. They were our accessibility fellows last year.
Mhm.
And one of the things I'm sort of encouraging conferences to do is to create these accessibility fellows. So Hirsch and Sanchit are both blind, and they were
Oh,
helping us making sure everything was accessible, or we're trying to be as accessible as possible for them.
well,
Yeah.
that sounds very that sounds a really good deed. So
Well,
yeah,
it was just really interesting because it just changed the dynamic so that instead of like doing accessibility for accessibility's sake, you actually had people
yes.
who wanted to be a part of it. And it was like, okay, well, what do we need? And so they both use NVIDIA and JAWS as their screen readers. And to make it faster for them, we actually have this last year we didn't, but this year we have the I'm putting it into the chat here, one that's easier, faster for the screen readers to read. So there's the original prospectus and then the one that's optimized for speed for screen readers, basically. But yeah, that's what's been keeping me busy.
So the conference itself is about software. It's a software research group, and
It's for research software people. So there's an overlap with CHAOSS because a lot of the things that people use are open source.
okay. Have you heard of big? I mean, during my when I was pursuing a PhD in the um software domain, and one of the conference that we are always targeting for is ICSI, the International Conference of Software. I'll tap it in the
Oh yeah,
document. Yeah,
no, that'd be really
um,
useful.
yes, I think it's International Conference of Software Engineering, one of the hugest. I mean, the researchers in the software engineering group, they will attend this meeting, and I participated last year of this conference, and there are some accessibility effort. I can feel the conference is trying to put together like hosting um DEI DEI launch um workshops for underrepresented groups, but I don't think they have go that far for like for people who are who are not accessible for like it's hard for them to read or to hear to really delve into the conference. And I think what you can do to make really people who are disabled in some perspective to join the conference committee to make because they can I mean they might have a more deep dive perspective to know they have that to know what might be better for such kind of group to participate into it.
Yeah, it's when I provide my diversity, equity, inclusion presentations, I talk about centering the most marginalized people. And usually the most marginalized people aren't even in the room.
Yes.
And so when you're intentionally working on things, you're doing something like this uh intersectionality spectrum, where it's basically highlighting um let me let me just I'll copy this image into the make it a bit
Oh,
smaller. Copy into the
yeah.
document. And if you see this one here, it's actually got alt text. So I'll just grab the alt text for it as well. So one of the big things is having alt text for every image that you put in. So I'm just putting alt text into that for
You can
image
share your
document.
screen if that's better.
No, I added it into the document. Can you see did it come up in the document yet?
No, I don't think so.
Oh,
I have stopped it sharing my screen.
and let me share my screen and move this out of the way. So can you see that?
Yes.
So the idea is this is your degree of difficulty, and it's calculated by the number of marginalized groups you belong to. So these white circles are the number of marginalized groups you belong to. So I'm here. So as a man of color, I'm actually quite privileged, right? So my degree of difficulty is quite low compared to someone who might be a disabled female indigenous person, for example, or an LGBTQIA plus disabled person from the global south. Their degree of difficulty is much, much higher than mine. And so the idea is that we need to center these people and give him the most support, similar to what we would do in a hospital setting, right? You wouldn't get someone to look after their sore thumb at the expense of someone who's having a heart attack. And so usually what happens is that we do it this way. Most DI initiatives target gender equity, and so they ended up targeting
Yes.
people who are over here, so white females, and they miss out on all of this. Whereas if you focus on this group, you're going to include everyone else by default. So if you look at the we've sort of incorporated that into the prospectus. So when you have a look at the prospectus, for example, um, and you look at these are the accessibility photos, Hirsch and Sanchez. Now they're part of our organizing committee, which is cool. That's them there. And when you look at the inclusion, we try to make sure that we're only paying a maximum of $30 per ticket, but we also gave away scholarships out like candy, basically, because we just wanted to not have the cost being there. And then we also had the micro grants. So if people were having problems with internet connections, they might want to upgrade them, or it might help defray some costs on childcare or something else like that. And we also had about 88 keynote slides that we made more accessible, and took about 4 hours of actually going through each slide and converting every complex diagram into alt text and everything else like that. So that was very painful. Next time I'll ask the keynotes to only give me a limited number and tell me, because one person had a big slide, and then they were gonna skip slides, but I didn't know which slides they were gonna skip, so I had to do everything. So that was a bit of a challenge. So yeah, that's the kind of embedding diversity, equity, inclusion into everyday practice that we've
Yeah.
done with Research Software Asia Australia. That's what I do with the internship program they're in. So yeah, that's why and we're trying to work out where can we go. We'd love to work with CHAOSS Asia and like cross promote. So if CHAOSS Asia wanted to do a talk there, or when we're promoting CHAOSS Asia at a talk in one of those other conferences, be like, oh, it'd be nice to be able to put that for. Oh, hello. That was a cute cat.
Hello.
Oh
Yes.
my goodness.
Okay.
So I think there's an idea for cross promotion. So we're trying to cross promote
Mhm.
with women in HPC as well. And so I think
Eh, so
you go.
HPC, uh, could you elaborate on what is HPC?
Oh yeah, so women in HPC plus is a community where um they're just trying to raise the diversity in high performance compute, because it's mainly male.
Okay, yes.
So especially for, the big supercomputers, the national supercomputers, that sort of area. And I know that group quite well. So we're working about how can we how do you say share things. So one of the things that I did, do you mind if I share again? I was going to show you something else that I think would be useful
Sure.
for Chaos Asia is what we do is we have this marketing page. So you can list all the marketing materials and hashtags to use and that sort of stuff. So if you click on this has got the images. So this is like a slide that we could put in to a talk. Like say you were interested in promoting the community, you could stick this in as part of your talk at, you know, something, something, something that would raise people's awareness. And it's got the alt text here. So you can copy and paste that and stick it in as alt text. So you can make your things more accessible. So if I put this on a LinkedIn post, I can put the alt text in really quickly. So I'm just going through and adding alt text. And we've got these other ones that we did from last year and just set up the alt text for it. So you can easily just do it and make it accessible without anyone having to do that stuff again and again. And I found this really useful. So you can, if you're talking to another organization, say, hey, have a look at this marketing material, and for anything that you want, just grab it and you can share it. And it's accessible by default because it's already in there, that you just need to be able to add the alt text into the LinkedIn part. And away you go.
So are you thinking of uh spreading these all text materials to like other organizations and other conferences?
Well, they should, if they want to be, there's a lot
Yeah,
of people who say we're being inclusive, but they don't know what that means because
yes.
they're only including the people who are at the on the left-hand side of that intersectionality spectrum that I was showing before. The idea is
Mm-hmm.
to look to the right, to the far right of that intersectionality spectrum and be intentional about, right, how would, and this is a classic case for conferences in America now, how would someone from a non-privileged passport country come into the United States and be a part of our conference if they had a significant disability and their funding had
Yes.
been taken away? No one tries to answer that question. So that's why Research Software Asia Australia has always been online, because that's the most accessible way we can think of doing it. But even then, you've got the digital divide, and some people don't have good internet connections. So trying to normalize this idea that, videos can be off or you can still contribute by chatting. Um, it's just a different, it's just a different norm than you would get at a normal big conference.
Yeah, the phenomena I felt for organizations and conferences, I mean the open source communities I attend is the diversity and inclusion is not even comes to a mainstream topic yet. Not to say to like to have the real underrepresented group. Although most participants they might have already addressed the like passport issue because most of them are based in Asia, so that won't be a huge issue to attend. But still, for like the spectrum you mentioned in the right, for the disabled people, they are not in the room. I don't see them appear in those conferences or online environments. Um, and I can see some conference organizers, they are trying to highlight to raise the DEI topics, the conference organizers, but not it's not very frequently discussed and considered. And yeah, I do feel I'm not sure. Maybe in China we don't have a that diverse background. Maybe that's the first reason. People are mostly comes from a similar background, but yeah, for disabled group, there is yeah very less um actions that have been um take.
Yeah, and that's why so I came up with the idea of the accessibility fellows. And the idea was to humanize diversity, equity, and inclusion. Because one of the problems that we're facing, one of the problems DEI is supposed to fix is we dehumanize people who aren't in our social orbit. And so when you're face to face with someone who's a living, breathing person, and you're saying, "Hey, they're really keen to hear your talk. I need to get your slides like like a week before the conference, so I can actually convert them to alt text. If you've got alt text, that would be great." Um, because Sanchit and Hirsch are going to be there, right? So for them to want to be a part of it and then come on the organizing committee show that they really felt like we were doing a decent job, right? I think that's a big tick. And if we had got the funds to find a couple of other fellows, accessibility fellows, all of a sudden we'd have 4 people who were giving feedback and telling us, hey, this is how we need it. Because every person who's disabled, there's a my son's disabled, and there's a thing in the disability community where you have to be person centric. So even if my son and another person have the same general condition, you still have to treat them differently because they have different needs. So it has to be person centric. And so when you're, working with the disability community, you have to expect that you'll need to make adjustments opportunistically for people who are there. And so if we get a couple of other fellows, they might come back and say, hey, this is missing, and we'll try to find ways to plug those holes. That's why last year we had like an accessibility partner package where they say, if you pop this, we'll do this, this, and this. But we realized we did it for everything. So every one of our sponsorship packages pretty much is a accessibility or inclusion package, so to speak. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how that differs this year. But that's why, like last year, we didn't have the accessibility optimized version of the prospectus. This year we do. And that was mainly because we had a look at different options with Sanchit and Hirsch and I realized the easiest one was to have a Google Doc and then publish it. And then every slide is like a header one. And actually I should do a talk about this and say this is what I found to be optimized. So with Canva, we can put some alt text in there and they can navigate it okay. But I think either NVDA or JAWS, it's not as optimized for speed. So with for someone like Hirsch, he has to listen to everything, so he can't skip ahead. So we need to sort of like make it as optimized as possible because it'll take him longer to read all the information, to listen to all the information than it would take for someone to have a look at the information. So having that separate second document is more to speed up, optimize him for speed for any reader, one of the 2 readers that he has. So you really get to learn really quickly what's needed in that particular ones. And as we get more people who are coming in who needs special consideration or specific circumstances that we need to address, we'll probably get better at that too.
Um, I'll look into the materials and the links you share today, and yeah, as you mentioned, you should give a talk about this. Um, do you have ideas of like channels or places you wish to broadcast about the effort that you are taking?
Yeah, well, actually, I was even looking at the call for papers that you put down, like the OSPO Summit Asia. I think
Yes,
that would,
that
like, I do an internship program, and I think that actually fits into the idea of an OSPO. It's one part of an OSPO type thing. And that's been pretty interesting. But again, I have caring responsibility, so I can't really travel, and I definitely can't travel overseas. So um, if a like the main conference that I have, it's not online, it's not hybrid, so I miss out. So there's this diagram that I show to people about over time people miss out on opportunities, and it sort of points out this idea that actually, where's my, yeah, here, this one here. Let me just share this. It might be easier to share. Now I'm going to have to head off in a couple of minutes. I apologize for taking up all the
Oh, that's
bandwidth,
okay.
but it was been nice talking
Yeah.
to you. So when you look at this, discrimination accumulates over time. Um, the idea is that some people have more ladders than snakes, and some people have more snakes than ladders in terms of your career. So if you're playing it like snakes, like someone who's got more snakes, they need to be work harder or roll the dice more or whatever you want to call it to progress their career. And what it looks like from an external point of view is even though you might be experienced or have the ability, because you're getting knocked back, your career experience goes horizontally, it doesn't go up. So even if these two people had the same ability and could do the same job, someone who's marginalized, their experience may look a lot lower than someone who's not. And so when you've got career limiting things, you need to take into account the achievement relative to the opportunities that you've had. And you can use that to help increase diversity of speakers, for example. So when you say, well, you might say, well, this person's got a diverse background, but they're not a professor or they're not a director. And you go, well, have you heard them talk? They're very, very good. They just may not have had the opportunity that someone else
Yeah.
has. And actually what I found is sometimes directors and, CEOs, they're not that good anyway. And actually, right, so there's a lot of mediocre managers there. So, if you're just doing it based of experience or authority or proximation to power, you miss out on people as keynote speakers that could actually boost their careers. So anyway, I have to head off.
Okay. About the
Uh,
Oslo summit, I think I will double check on that, but I think it could be hybrid to have a
yeah, I want to check
video.
them out. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I will
But
check
yeah,
with
even
the
if we did it
committee
as,
and
yeah, but even if it was like a Chaos Asia thing that we're raising, this is some stuff we're doing in Chaos Asia. These are the people we want to partner with around there. That would be cool as well. But Sharia, I've got to go. Thanks for
okay.
doing this. Thanks for
Yeah, thanks
organizing
for
this.
sharing. Yeah.
You're welcome. I enjoyed it. I'll catch you later.
Yeah, later. Bye bye.
Say bye to your cat for me as well.
Yeah. Bye bye. Have a good day.
Bye. You too. Bye.
Bác Thái, Thái phải là